Join Dr. Alan Simberg and his guests every Tuesday from 3 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on Life-Changing Insights. Life-Changing Insights is a show dedicated to providing its listeners with self-improvement information that has a positive effect on an individual's mental, physical, and spiritual being, as well as unresolved relationship issues. For more information or to be a guest on Life-Changing Insights, go to Life-Changing Insights with DrAlanSimberg.com. Life-Changing Insights every Tuesday from 3 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on the Tough Talk Radio Network.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Life-Changing Insights. This is your host, Dr. Alan Simberg, and I'm going to introduce my second guest this afternoon, Julie Simbert. Julie graduated from the Clear Sight Clairvoyant program in Santa Monica, California. She has worked with a number of healers in a variety of modalities and wants to let the world know about the alternatives that exist so that people can become or stay aware of their inner greatness. Julie has an online weekly TV radio show titled Reawaken Your Brilliance, which airs Wednesdays at 9 p.m. and has featured a variety of body, mind, and spirit experts, including Bruce Lipton, the Fly Lady, Vincent Genna, Peter Walsh, Angela Bayer-Coulter, and many others. Reawaken Your Brilliance also has monthly online classes that cover a variety of topics such as finding your passion and overcoming procrastination. Julie also conducts workshops that address various topics. Julie is an eco-organizer and owner of Healing Through Organization and writes grants. She wants people to heal, get unstuck, and move forward in their lives. Her goal is to introduce people to a variety of guests and subjects so that they can find the person, book, and or class that they connect with that will allow them to move forward. And now let's learn more about Julie. Hello, Julie, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
I'm really excited about having you on the show. As a way of helping the listening audience to have a sense of who you are and what you do, I'm going to start by asking you to tell us about where you grew up and how your earlier years and life experiences have contributed to what you're doing today.
Oh, that's a fantastic question. I grew up in Wheeling, West Virginia, proud Mountaineer fan, still am. The big impetus that really created where I am today was actually a harmful something that happened to me. I was abused as a child, and it's something that I had suppressed, and it was interesting listening to your previous guest. But I didn't know for a long time what was going on, but it affected my daily life. It was my reality. I was living in this victim reality, and I didn't know how to resolve it, and so it resulted in low self-esteem and things of that nature. And then when I did the Clear Sight program, it came up, and I was like, oh, this is why my life has been the way that it's been. And so that kind of created my healing journey for me personally. And then when I moved from Los Angeles to North Carolina, I really did a lot of intense healing work, and then an opportunity to do a show came up, and they said, well, what do you want to do? And I thought, well, what would I be really excited to do? And I thought, well, organizing, there are tons of people who do that, and I like being green, but there are tons that do that. And I thought, body, mind, spirit, I've always been fascinated by it, and that's been something that's been part of my journey. And so my hope and goal was that I was able to change my life and heal, that I would give people a variety of experts that would allow them and heal in their life.
Great. Now, in terms of the listening audience, I don't know if many or how many people understand what clairvoyance is. I wonder if you could just give an explanation that will help people to know what that's all about.
Sure. Well, when I did it, it was a 13-month program, and so it did a little bit of energy healing. It did practicing exercises to help sharpen your intuition. If you're clairvoyant, that's a French word that means to see. So what we call people who are psychic or intuitive are also called clairvoyant. And so one of the exercises we would do would be to read people off the streets, and there are people in the program who would go on to be intuitive counselors or psychics or what have you. But for me, it was really a tool to learn how to develop my own intuition and to kind of clear my internal clutter to be able to move forward in my life.
Now, is that something that people are just born with? Is it something that someone can learn how to do if they're not aware that they have it?
Absolutely. Yes, I believe that's the whole point of the program. I believe we're all intuitive and we all have gifts. It's whether or not we learn how to use them. And so that's exactly what the program did. It would teach you different exercises to help build your intuition. Now, I've always been what I would call clairaudient, which means that I would hear things, which is kind of ironic because I don't have very good hearing and need to wear a hearing aid. But here's a great example. I was in Hawaii 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and I was by myself on a beach, and I heard a voice, like it sounded outside of me, get up. And I didn't listen to it, and finally it screamed, get up now. And it startled me so much, I was like, oh, my gosh. And I got up, and I turned around, and there was a man watching me from behind a tree, and you know how you get that immediate creepy feeling. And I was like, okay. So I walked along the beach and just hung out with, because I'd been traveling by myself, hung out with people on the beach. And then later that night or the next morning, there was a story about how a woman had been raped on the beach there. And so I believe that was my higher self, my inner guidance saying, hey, danger, Will Rogers, you need to get going. And so intuition can be a valuable tool that way. And not only in helping you avoid negative situations, but helping you, give you direction on your life path and answering all those questions, because we all have the knowledge about our lives and what we need to do inside of us.
Now, when you were laying on the beach that day, was it that you actually heard a voice, or was it more like an intuition, like something just kind of telling me what to do?
No, it was like I actually heard a voice. And so, and you're bringing up another way that we listen or learn, clairescience, which means to feel. So if I would have felt before seeing the creepiness, that would be a sense or a feeling, and so that's clairescience. And so then the audient when you hear, and then clairvoyance when you see.
Okay. Now, when you have those different types of experiences, I'm only not talking about you, but also other people in general, you kind of have to put yourself in a certain state of mind, or is it something that just comes to you because you have that awareness and you're open to hearing what's going on or seeing or feeling what's going on?
Yes, I mean, you don't have to meditate, although I would recommend to everyone if you can do a meditation practice, that's excellent, and that allows you to hone in on your intuition. And because we're getting signals, we're getting messages all the time, it's whether or not we're open and aware to them. I'm sure probably everyone who's listening to the show right now can be like, oh, yeah, I remember that time. I kind of had a feeling and didn't listen to it and didn't trust it. And so when you go to ClearSight, there are exercises you can learn to help build your intuition. And there are other programs out there. That was just when I was living in Los Angeles at the time, the program I did.
Now, I wonder if, some of what you've just described, I wonder if it's the same thing because, very often you'll hear people saying that they were kind of struggling with an issue in their life, trying to figure out what to do, and they decide, you know what, I'm thinking too much about this, I'm just going to relax. And they turn on the radio and a song comes on the radio, or they pass a sign on the highway, and somehow it just, is that similar to what you're saying?
Absolutely. That's what I'm talking about. The messages are all around if you're open to them. And if you were distracted and too focused and in your ego and your mind, you might miss that billboard or miss that song and not know that that's a message.
So that gives a lot of people a lot of hope that, there are answers out there. It's just a question of not seeing them, but it's not that they don't exist.
Absolutely. But again, we have all the answers we need inside, and I think what you're talking about, seeing the billboards and the signs, that's what I would call kind of in the beginning, because okay, we haven't kind of honed our intuition, that's something that's coming, and then moving to a state where you can sit quietly and say, okay, I need an answer, this is something that I'm struggling with, help me find the right decision, and by sitting quietly and knowing that you have all the answers inside.
And then, of course, once you have that awareness that you have the answers inside, that also contributes to self-confidence, self-esteem. And I'm guessing it also makes you much more aware, and you probably can access the answers much quicker as that awareness develops. Absolutely.
And again, I think that's why meditation is a good practice, because that constantly hones that skill. But, meditation doesn't have to be sitting on the couch with your legs crossed. It can be something I find mowing the lawn is a very meditative state for me, because I've got to be physical and mow the lawn, and then I can let my mind wander, because that's when the mind can relax and not be so much about the ego. For some people, it's listening to classical music. It can get them in that meditative state, which is the same thing as, saying or whatever it is. So there are a variety of ways that you can reach that state.
And I think you make a very good point, because I think for people that don't have the understanding, the common belief is like meditation is like this altered state, and you don't really know where you are. And, obviously that's really not true.
Oh, not at all. I would say it's an altered state in the sense that you're getting to a more relaxed mode, and probably someone out there who's a scientist would give us a scientific definition, but it doesn't have to be as woo-woo as people make it out to be. It's not some scary state out there. It's just, again, putting yourself in a relaxed state to be open and receptive to all that knowledge. That's
a very good way of putting it. We're going to go to commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to pick up from that point.
Would you like to be more up to date with the real estate market? Do you have some nagging questions you want answered by experts who don't have anything to gain or lose by telling you a straight answer? Tune in to Fast Talk with Vicki Wachtel and get the latest on this fast-paced market. Start your Mondays off well-informed by listening to Vicki's Tell It Like It Is brand of wisdom. Listen live Mondays, 8:30 a.m. on the Tough Talk Radio Network by going to fasttalkwithvickiwachtel.com. Missed the show but want to go back and listen? That's okay. Just visit fasttalkwithvickiwachtel.com to catch up on past episodes. Fast Talk Mondays, 8:30 a.m. Central.
Are you an entrepreneur? Are you where you want to be? Do you believe that if you build it, they will come? Unfortunately, entrepreneurship doesn't work that way, and that's why you need to read Famous Isn't Enough. In this book, you'll find real-life situations and lessons learned. When all is said and done, there's nothing better than being your own boss. Remember, nothing just happens. You have to put in the work. Famous Isn't Enough is your roadmap. Get your copy today at www.famousisn'tenough.com.
Join Dr. Alan Simberg and his guests every Tuesday from 3 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on Life-Changing Insights. Life-Changing Insights is a show dedicated to providing its listeners with self-improvement information that has a positive effect on an individual's mental, physical, and spiritual being, as well as unresolved relationship issues. For more information or to be a guest on Life-Changing Insights, go to Life-Changing Insights with DrAlanSimberg.com. Life-Changing Insights every Tuesday from 3 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on the Tough Talk Radio Network.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Life-Changing Insights. This is your host, Dr. Alan Simberg, and I've been speaking with Julie Siebert. Julie graduated from the Clearsight Clairvoyant program in Santa Monica, California, and we're talking about what clairvoyance is, clairaudience, and we're learning how this can all apply in all our lives and how it's really not a special skill that only certain people have, that we really all have it. It's a question of becoming aware of that awareness that we can have to find the answers to the questions that are in our lives. And, Julie, before we went to break, we were talking about how clairvoyance and searching for the answers inside really is not a scary thing, and there's no reason for it to be scary.
Oh, no, not at all. And I think I say this, and, when what happened to me as a child, it was so much harder. I had this fear, oh, my gosh, what am I going to find out if I really dig deep and I do all this healing? And what I discovered is it was so much harder to hold on to that anxiety and that fear and that negative energy. And then when I released it and healed, it was like, oh, my gosh, how come I spent all these years blocking it and stuffing it down? Because holding it back was much worse than any healing process ever could have been. And many people that I've talked to have said the same thing. They said, you know what, I realized it was going into the fire was a lot easier than not going into the fire.
What do you suppose is the reason that so many people hold on to the negative?
Well, I think if they're holding on to the negative, they get something out of it. You wouldn't do anything. I'm trying to think of a past example of me. I used to kind of have that martyr complex and do everything for everyone, and that fed the attention that I needed. And so people continue to do something, I personally believe, if they get something out of it. But I've had a big revelation. It's interesting. If I would have done this interview a year ago, I probably would have answered differently. But just got back from my honeymoon, and we went to Rome. And so what I've been saying is all roads lead to Rome. Everything in your life is a direct creation. You've created it. That's your reality. You have created it. And so if you're mad at so-and-so, it doesn't matter. That's all an external. You have to get good and clear the clutter in the inside to change your outside world.
So when people create negativity, do you think that's their intention, or that's just what happened because maybe they weren't paying as much attention as they could to the way they were leading their lives?
I think it's a mixture, honestly. I'm trying to think of an example. There's a person in the business world in my area who says that they're all about law of attraction and there's abundance for everyone, yet they have a very scarcity mentality, which is very easy to see, or attacking someone else saying, oh, you've stolen my work. Well, if you truly believed what you preach, then you wouldn't have that. So again, your previous guest talked about there are some underlying things that you might not be aware of. You might not be aware if something happened to you as a child, as in my case, or you just might not have gotten to the root of something, and so that might be why you're attracting something again and again, because kind of until you solve it and get to what it's really about in some way or other, at least I believe that, you're going to continue to get that life lesson until you've mastered it.
That makes a lot of sense. One of the things that you do is you help people by presenting a particular topic that is titled Finding Your Passion and Overcoming Procrastination.
Yes.
I've come across a lot of people that have that as an issue, especially the overcoming procrastination part. I wonder if you could just say a few words, explain a little bit what that all means to you and how you work with people to help them get past that procrastination.
Well, it really, again, depends on the individual, but there are a couple things, like it might be fear, like perfectly, or I won't do it at all. Or, there's always that fear of success, or maybe it's a fear of failure, or, some people have to get everything organized just right. For instance, if they're very creative because they think, if it's not in a certain way, then it might take away from my creativity. And so kind of what I do is, again, varies from individual, but I found myself moving into more of a coaching and mentoring role because I keep having clients who, what we found is if we talk and kind of figure out what's going on the inside, then organizing and letting go of the clutter and overcoming procrastination go away because they've solved the bigger issue of what it's about. And, I'm a big, firm believer if you write things down, take baby steps. Don't think, oh, my gosh, I'm going to overcome procrastination in 5 minutes. And again, you can maybe see the hypnotherapist and that happens. But, be gentle with yourself. Take a little step each day to work on something and reward yourself and pat yourself on the back when you've been able to do something.
So in a sense, the procrastination is really either an outcome of or a reaction to fear of not wanting something to happen.
Yes, you hit it. There are two emotions. Everything boils down to either love or fear. Anger is about fear, and it does. That's what it is. It's really about fear.
And fear of not wanting something to happen. So what seems to people on the outside is that you're not accomplishing something. Actually, you're accomplishing something that is heavily emotionally based, but you're really avoiding something that you don't want to experience.
Yes. So again, it's all about creating our reality and stepping back and saying, okay, maybe that's something that, my parents passed on to me, but I don't have to hold on to that any longer. I can move past that fear.
And, of course, the other positive to that is you're allowing the person to become aware of the power they have, the power of choice. And they don't have to let things run them. They can actually do something and feel proud that they've accomplished it.
Absolutely. And what I believe wholeheartedly is in every moment, every single one of us has a choice. And doing nothing is not a choice. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've said myself in the past or heard people say, I don't have a choice. That's not true. You always have a choice. I think that's important to remember because that, to me, is empowering. Like, okay, I do have a choice. I can change my situation. I can make my life more positive. I can make my life more better.
Actually, the irony of that all is that, in a sense, doing nothing is actually a choice.
Yes, it really is.
It's a choice to do nothing.
Yes. Yeah, but, a lot of people wouldn't see it that way. They say,
No.
I can't do this because I don't have those resources. And I actually got in a discussion with someone on my show who said, and I said, no. If you want something badly enough, you can go out there and make it happen. And, in that regard, I'd say, okay, then I'd ask for my guidance. I want to get out of whatever situation. What do I need to do? And, and say, okay, I need help. I'm someone who asks for help. Help me. I need guidance. Have someone come into my life that can help me. I believe when you step up and you say, okay, I'm ready to change, I'm ready to be positive, that God, the universe, whatever your, choice is, comes in to help out, and because you've stepped up, they step up too.
I totally agree with you. I'm wondering to give the listeners an idea of how you work with people. I don't think we really have to go into too much detail about, like, the types of problems people come to you with, because it sounds like almost any problem would be something that you could help someone to get past. But, in terms of, like, what your initial sessions are like, whether you have just one session with people once in a while, or if you have a certain program that you follow with people, and also how long the sessions are.
Okay, it's completely individualized, so it really depends on what the person needs. And so I'm a firm believer of I want to help you as much as I can and as quickly as I can. So I'm not someone who is going to have a client for years, because if not, I think they need to go on and find someone else. And I will help anyone to the best of my ability until they've reached that session. A lot of times it's interesting. Sessions I can do via Skype, phone, or in the Raleigh, North Carolina area where I live, and I send out a little assessment, ask some questions to kind of know what we're dealing with, and then each session's different. For instance, if I'm helping someone, I mentioned earlier, whatever's going on in the inside is reflected on the outside. And if, I'm working with a client right now who we're getting her whole house decluttered. She's extremely overweight. She's realized, okay, what the inside reflects on the outside. So in a situation like that, we'd go work for 4 or 5 hours at a chunk at a time. Someone else might need just an hour kind of coaching session to see what's going on. I tailor it to the individual. And I give homework because that's something that's really important in between sessions, because I want people to, to exercise that muscle and give tools and different exercises they have to do. I've said to clients, okay, and for the next week, I want you to look in the mirror and tell yourself you're beautiful and that you love you. And, I'd encourage your listeners to try that. I couldn't do that the first time someone told me to do that. And so it's different. To me, it's body, mind, spirit is all intertwined. And it's, again, whatever's going on the outside you've created, but you can create the reality and the life that you want. Absolutely.
Which is really a very positive way of looking at things. We have about a minute or so left in the interview. I just want to give you an opportunity to mention anything to the listening audience that you may not have had a chance to talk about so far, and also please give them your contact information.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, October 29th, I have the next online mini course coming up. It's on conscious parenting. So if you're looking for a different alternative way to parent, I'm really excited about that. We've got a great panel, and it's recorded. So if you can't make it live later, but you can still email in questions. And then people can find out more information about me at reawakenyourbrilliance.com. We've got lots of great people coming up on the show and can learn more about my coaching services. And then if you're just looking for pure organization, healingorganization.com has a lot of great information as well. And I do coaching and decluttering and organizing, and you can find out good stuff there. And my number is 919-559-3925. And I appreciate the opportunity and all that you're doing to give voices for people like me.
Well, when I have guests like you, it really makes what I do so much more rewarding. So I really want to thank you for being on the show this afternoon and sharing with the listening audience all that you have come to learn about and giving them hope, where maybe there could be just one person in the audience who didn't have hope until they listened to this show, and hearing what you had to say could just set them on a particularly positive path.
Well, thank you. That's why I do what I do.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Julie.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Okay. And before ending today's show, I'm going to give my life-changing insight tip of the week. And basically what that has to do with is that somehow as human beings, we tend to shortchange ourselves. We tend to think that we're not as capable as we really are. So what I would like to recommend and give as my life-changing insight tip of the week is set your sights high. Set goals that you can't even imagine yourself accomplishing. When you do that, you actually open up the possibility of doing things that you never really thought that you can do. You know, of course, it has to be somewhat within your abilities. You know, it has to fit into what your skills are. But to contradict that, by doing what I'm recommending, you could identify skills that you have that you never knew you had. So in closing, I just want to say stay positive, stay with your dreams, do everything you can to accomplish your goals. And I would invite everyone to listen to next week's show, next Tuesday from 3 to 4 o'clock, Life-Changing Insights. And I want to wish you all a wonderful afternoon, and thank you for listening.
Thank you for joining us on Life-Changing Insights with Dr. Alan Simberg, brought to you by the Tough Talk Radio Network. A special thanks to all of our sponsors. If you'd like to be a sponsor or a guest, please go to toughtalkradionetwork.com.